It's said that temperatures in outer space approach absolute zero, theoretically the lowest temperature possible. But even absolute zero would seem to understate the coldness of the vast emptiness beyond our atmosphere. The silence, the absolute stillness, the isolation. Space is cold, dark, and unforgiving. It's utterly inhospitable for life, unless life can be even more unforgiving. And she knows better than anyone the cold, oppressive darkness of space. She's become acquainted with its eternal stillness, and she welcomes the silence as she might welcome a friend. Because in the places she visits, you don't find comfort in sound. You find things that are crawling on the ceiling and trying to kill you. Her name is Jenosa Arma, and such is her story, but it's not hers alone. In fact, that whole introduction I just gave, that wasn't written for Ms. Arma, it was written for a Ms. Aaron. As funny as it may be that an unused part written for an old Metroid review could be reborn as the intro for an entirely different game, the fact that it isn't so different is the larger point here. Jenosa's debut is an underrated gem on the Nintendo DS, but it's basically just Metroid with more action and more ponytail. Its originality, or lack thereof, notwithstanding, Scurge Hive delivers in every other area that matters. Developed by the presumably defunct Orbital Media and brought to the Nintendo DS by SouthPeak Games, Scurge Hive borrows heavily from Nintendo's own Metroid. The protagonist is a female bounty hunter who wears a cool suit that lets her shoot stuff from her arm. She kills lots of gruesome space monsters, and she gets infected by an unknown space parasite that's slowly killing her. Honestly, that's as much a description of Metroid Prime 3 as Scurge Hive. So if you like Metroid, Scurge is a must-play. But if you're not into Samus, you should know there are also some important differences between her and Jenosa. And no, it's not just their hair color. Now, the biggest difference between the two, and the thing that makes Scurge much more than just a clone, is the game's pacing. Now, in Metroid, the emphasis is exploration, and as such, you spend a lot of time just walking around and soaking in the atmosphere. You try to do that in Scurge, and you'll be dead in minutes. This is an action-heavy game, to say the least. Every area Jenosa steps foot in is just crawling with life forms infected by the parasitic Scurge. She's under constant attack from one creature or another, and in fact, she's also being attacked from within. Her own infection is slowly taking over her body, and if she can't find a decontamination chamber before her infection percentage reaches 100, the Scurge overtakes her. This only adds to the game's frantic pace, between fighting off monsters, seeking a place to decontaminate, and frantically searching for keys to unlock doors and escape the Scurge. Jenosa is constantly on the move. Unlike Samus, she doesn't have the luxury of exploration. But of course, she's also quite a bit like Samus as well. Jenosa can upgrade herself with several unique weapons, each of which has a different effect on enemies. So for example, the electric beam deals heavy damage to electric enemies, but for others, it actually makes them more powerful. And that constant switching of beams adds another element to Jenosa's survival, her desperate effort to destroy that which is destroying her. Efforts that would frankly be easier with an analog stick. Shooting in 8 directions isn't easy to do with a D-pad, and in fact, that inaccuracy is the game's biggest issue. Although it went largely under the radar during its 2006 release, Scurge has been a personal favorite of mine for years on the DS and the Game Boy Advance. It's challenging, it's gorgeous, and although it may not be original in concept, it's very much its own beast in execution. Scurge Hive is a fantastic game, and it's proof that, with a spunky redhead, space doesn't have to be quite so lonely.